Now.
You may have heard of the video game Polybius, released only in a small arcade in a suburb of Portland, Oregon. It is infamous for causing nightmares, amnesia, and even suicide in those who played it. Little else was known for decades, but a recent disclosure by an employee of the company who developed it has revealed several details about it. The first surprise is who developed it. Many have speculated that the United States military developed it for an unknown purpose, probably related to a psychological warfare. While the US government did indeed commission it, they hired another company to actually make the game, one you've already certainly heard of, Nintendo. As you may know, Donkey Kong was Shigeru Miyamoto's first game, developed in 1981, the same year as Polybius. Nintendo has been hurt by overestimating the appeal of the recent game. Radarscope and Donkey Kong, a desperate gamble, an unconventional game made by an unknown designer that could make or break the company. That's what we thought anyway. It turns out Nintendo had another ace up their sleeve. The influential Hiroshima Kawanishi, then president of Nintendo, had heard about the US military's desire to build a game to be used for psychological attack. He managed to get the contract and ordered Miyamoto to create the game, using the opportunity to make the game he really wanted to, Donkey Kong, as incentive. Miyamoto was given some kind of outline by the US military, which he was refused to discuss. The normally cheerful Miyamoto became very quiet and withdrawn, not letting anyone, even Yamaguchi, see his work on Polybius. The strict and forceful Yamaguchi is reported to have gone into Miyamoto's office to demand that he reveal his work so far on Polybius. Yamaguchi came out looking frightened. Miyamoto had somehow gotten Yamaguchi to back down, which Nintendo employees unanimously agree has never happened at any other time. Miyamoto finished Polybius and handed the disc containing the information necessary for its production to the army representative, who came to Nintendo's office. No one else saw it. Miyamoto remained withdrawn, locking himself in his office every day until he emerged with a completed version of Donkey Kong, back to his cheerful self with no acknowledgement of the strange behaviour during the development of Polybius. Miyamoto had recovered, but the saga of Polybius was just beginning. Creating a game takes a great deal of work, and how Miyamoto managed to hide traces of his work on Polybius was quite baffling to the people aware of the internet. The solution to this was recently discovered by a Nintendo of Japan employee. In the employees' lounge of Nintendo of Japan, there was a Donkey Kong arcade machine, one of the very first manufactured. Donkey Kong was made from modified Radarscope hardware, and it seems Miyamoto used this trick to hide the remains of Polybius. A few months ago, a Nintendo employee was playing the Donkey Kong arcade machine. He was distracted and played in an unusual manner. The first sign that something was happening was when the line of Mario's face started curving downwards, as if he was frowning. The employee was intrigued and kept playing. The graphics started to fall apart. Pixels will leave images behind when moved, or move away from the object. While this was happening, the employee was startled by an angry shout. Miyamoto had entered the room and was furious. He yelled at the terrified employee to never touch the machine again and yanked the cabinet's cord out of the wall. Everyone in the lounge was stunned. Miyamoto never acted like this before, and he was known for being friendly and calm. Miyamoto regained control of himself, apologized, and told the employee who had been playing not to worry, that he had been upset about something else and had lost control of his emotions. The employee, familiar with the real development history of Polybius, didn't believe him. He knew he was onto something and managed to take a disc with a copy of the original code of Donkey Kong home with him. The employee copied the code onto his computer and started hacking into it. There didn't seem to be anything unusual in it, so the employee focused on recreating his situation on the arcade machine, like string unraveling. He found more and more oddities as he got closer to what he had done earlier. As he suspected, it eventually led to the title screen displaying the title Polybius. The employee posted what he had done up to this point online. The last thing anyone heard from him was that he was about to play the mythical game. It is unknown what happened next. The employee committed suicide, was the most gruesome ever reported in Japan. Someone who lived close by had been among those who had read the employee's progress reports online, and he had saved them. The employees had destroyed his computer during the suicide. The police found no evidence that Polybius was ever involved. The person who made the copy confronted Yamato, showing him the proof that Polybius was involved. Using it for blackmail, he got Yamato to give him an off-the-record summary of Polybius, which has been made public online. The only leaked details of Polybius gameplay have been that it was similar to Tempest and had Ambios as enemies. The Tempest part is true. The game takes place around a solid black background where you control a human head and move back and forth shooting enemies that come at you with scaling that emulates 3D movement. The enemies are easy to mistake for Amobas, but if you look closely, they're actually faces with different expressions on them. The enemy name's description Yamato gave: hope, a twisted, threatening smile with no eyes; love, a blank expression, the eyes are lifeless; truth, a sad face with red tears visible below the eyes. A novel twist for the time, each enemy is dealt with differently. The character's shot only works on hope enemy. Love should simply be avoided, while you should let truth collide with your character. There is a bright flash when you fail to do the right thing to an enemy attack, but the game has no lives and can only end if no buttons are pressed for 30 seconds. The flashes have a physical and mental effect on the player. The game enforces a normal 3 lives rule with them. 3 flashes will make most players feel dizzy and nervous, enough to make them quit unless they're very determined. They will have vivid nightmares for the next few weeks. If the player takes a few more, they will forget not only the game, but functions necessary for independent life. Players who get amnesia from the game normally have to be cared for the rest of their lives. A very strong-willed person may be able to resist the amnesia stage and keep playing. After a few more flashes, they will faint. As soon as they recover, they will madly attempt everything in their power to commit suicide. The army kept one person who experienced this alive. After nearly 30 years, he still has to be watched every second to prevent him from killing himself. This was all the information Yamato was willing to give, but there were still quite a few unanswered questions from Polybius. With this information released to the internet, the hunt for more was on. Someone claiming to be involved in the project came forward online. For obvious reasons, he does not want his identity revealed, so he has avoided going into any personal details beyond that. Polybius used a pattern of lights the military had been working on to produce an effect similar to epilepsy in the person who viewed them. The technical had been refined to the point where the light pattern could even cause specific effects by being altered. The flashes of the light to have the desired effect, they had to be viewed with a degree of concentration, hence why a video game was chosen for the testing process. The arcade machine was to be used for the test the effects on a wide range of people without informing them of the seriousness of the experiment. Obviously, the plan to test Polybius on innocent, unknowing people was horrible from an ethical standpoint. The rather called Yomochi was willing to go along with it for the money that would save his company, but Yamato wouldn't, and as a designer, the true nature of the game couldn't be hidden from him. Yamato was shown 3 flashes immediately after being assigned the project and was told he would keep getting them whenever the effects faded until he finished the game. This was the cause of his odd behaviour in the game's development. The natural question after hearing this whether the experiment was a success. The army detained several people who suffered the effects of the flashes during the game's short test in Portland suburb, and without exception, every test subject responded to the flashes in the accepted way. However, attempts to create the antidote to the effects were unsuccessful in tricking people into playing an arcade machine. Obviously wasn't a very practical way to deploy a weapon. Due to this, Polybius faded from memory. Until, that is, technology made a few advancements. The level of concentration needed to make the flashes have their effect can be attained by reading text. The flashes themselves are fairly easy to display on any type of monitor. Now that computer monitors display text and link to a limitless network are so common, I'm sure you can put two and two together. The military probably isn't going to send the flashes into your computer, and now that the secret is public and the flashes can be found in a common arcade game. The story is credited to a person called